Story 1. Together 10 years, 2 young kids, wife had an affair, struggling to find the right mix of self-respect, forgiveness, and ending versus strengthening our marriage. Would appreciate any personal anecdotes, experiences, or advice. This is long as F, so probably no one will read it. But if anyone does, I appreciate your honest perspectives or anything you can share to be helpful. We dated for 3 years and are married for 7. We have 2 kids. We have always functioned very well as practical, domestic partners, but I'd say other than when we first started dating, the passion hasn't exactly been fierce. Sex life has always been okay, but she views it as more of a necessity than something she really gets into. The past few years have been especially rough on us though. She has always been a fitness addict, but the past few years has felt an increasing urge for me to be SXY and muscular like she is. Deep contempt and resentment have built on her end because despite my efforts I have not been able to achieve that for her. That contempt has caused her to pull away on me a bit and perhaps not give me the love and respect I need. And that in turn has caused me to pull away, and we kind of just ended up like domestic partners who raise kids together and sometimes have sex, but saying I love you got kind of awkward and we just didn't make emotional space for each other. Several months ago, I noticed she started to get close to a neighbor of ours who is a bit older, SXY, muscular, etc. They're both stay-at-home folks and would see each other outside a lot. So one time the 3 of us were chatting and invited him over. I noticed she was super flirty with him when he came over that night, in front of me. And she didn't even notice. I told her at that point that I was concerned about this and that it looked like she had obvious attraction to him. I said I thought this could lead to bad places and didn't think they should be friends. But she was adamant that they were only friends, that he was happily married, and that she'd obey if I forbade it but would probably resent my being so controlling. She said it was so important to her to have a friend like him who was into fitness like she was and who she felt like she could talk to. And she didn't want to be penalized and lose that just because it happened to be a man. So, I said I'd trust her and implored her to be careful about safeguarding herself from letting things go farther. I reminded her what I've always said, which is that infidelity is something I would never tolerate and that it would be a no questions asked divorce if she ever cheated on me. Without getting into all the detail, I'll just say that they started spending more and more time together, and he asked a lot of personal questions like a therapist would, then used those answers to get in deeper and deeper. She felt like they had a real connection, but it was strictly platonic until early to mid-December. Then he confessed his feelings, suggested they have an affair, and she took some time to think about it. Then when I was out of town about 2 weeks later it happened. She said it was 5 times over the course of 4 weeks. 4 of which were full-on sex and other things. It happened while I was in town a few times, and a couple when I was around but out of the house. It was premeditated and carefully concealed. I could see she was struggling with something very deeply, and I thought maybe she was getting ready to divorce me. But we have always communicated openly, and she wasn't talking to me. We were also individually and together seeing a marriage counselor for 10 months, and she started not talking to me as much about what they were discussing. I was suspicious of her and the neighbor, so one night while she was asleep, I did something I've never done before and looked in her phone. I found messages between them that confirmed an intimate relationship had existed but that they had ended the physical component. However, they were still grieving that together and lamenting not being able to be together while having to pretend everything was okay with their spouses. My wife has always told everyone how much she loves me and that I'm the perfect man in every way. A leader in the community, a great earner, a great husband to her who cares about her happiness, and a great father to our children, but that she simply lacks with me the passion that she promised herself when she was younger that she would not settle for not having in her life. She said that drove her crazy, not having the passion, and is what ultimately led to this multi-year downward spiral that culminated in this affair. She tried to lie and gaslight me when I found out, but eventually she confessed and told me everything. She cried and begged and apologized when I told her I thought we should separate and start working on a divorce. We consulted our counselor, and he told me that I am justified if I want to divorce her, but I can't really undo that, so he suggested that there's no reason to make an immediate decision, and that I can give it a week or 2 or 4 and see how I'm feeling. Why didn't I divorce her immediately? We have built a great life together on paper. We love our kids. We are financially well off. We are well known and hold leadership roles in our community. We communicate well and don't have big arguments or yell at each other. That's a lot to throw away if there's an alternative. So, let's talk about the alternative. Since the time I found out about the affair, she has been a different person. We messaged him from her account saying that I knew about the affair, and she wanted to stay with me. And she asked him never to contact her again before blocking him on all accounts. She has become very introspective and reassuring. I'm finally seeing from her the partner I always wanted her to be. She says she had gotten into a terrible place emotionally, And this is the first time she is clearly seeing how much we have together and how important it is to her, and how she doesn't want to lose it. She says she wants to do whatever work she can on herself to keep me. She's also honest with me that she's grieving the loss of the connection she had with our neighbor, and that this is going to take time for her to get over. She's working through that in therapy. She's also working on trying to be more accepting of me in my current body, being less selfish and more emotionally available, etc. For the 2 weeks since I found out, these things have really transformed our marriage for the better. Part of me looks at the affair and says that if this are what she needed as a catalyst for personal change, and that really results in our having a stronger and closer marriage, then great. Our therapist and advisors have all seen cases of infidelity that ultimately ended in people having a stronger marriage. My struggle is how to cope with feeling like I'm not respecting myself if I don't leave. This betrayal hurts. My logical part of my brain says she effed up big time, especially given that I saw this happening in slow motion and warned her about it and she just didn't think she would ever let it happen. I probably should leave her, but that's so self-defeating in a sense if we do have a chance to come out stronger than this. Our parents are all divorced and 3/4 of them never got into a serious relationship again and are completely alone and unhappy decades later, and 1/4 has a long-term girlfriend that he's had some pretty rocky times with. It would completely shake up our kids' lives and would mean I would be at least 50% of the time without them, which would be very hard for me. People say you shouldn't stay together for kids, but on the surface our marriage still looks great, and they think we love each other, and I think even in our worst times we still model what a loving marriage should look like. I feel like I'm still on the fence about what to do, but inertia would keep me in the marriage for now unless something crazy happens. She is serious about loving me and wanting to stay together, but she's also honest that she doesn't know if she'll ever have the level of passion for me that she thinks she wants to have in her marriage, and that this may lead to her not being content in the future. She says she would never, ever make the mistake of cheating again, but I know how this sort of shame can fade over time once you've crossed this line. Am I certain this won't happen again in 10 years? No, but I've learned from this experience that there is no certainty. I would never in a million years have expected this from her, and it did happen once. And to me that means it can always happen again. So, here I am trying to decide what to do. Do I blow up our lives even though we're in counseling? She's working on herself, and our marriage at present feels better than it's ever been. Is this acceptance of me that I'm seeing right now sustainable? Or am I just wasting time waiting for the same issues to creep up again? I guess it's impossible to say without knowing the future. Or do I wait around to see what the future holds, allowing for the possibility of a better marriage than we had before at the possible expense of regressing and having wasted more time and gotten myself in more emotionally deeper? Reader comment: your story is almost exactly mine from about 6 years ago. We'd been married for about 9 years at that point, 2 kids. She started getting into fitness, started hanging out with a SXY muscular dude who was a friend. I expressed being uncomfortable, blah blah blah. The rest is history, and it was the same thing, deep regret on her part, and we ultimately decided to reconcile. We definitely went through a honeymoon phase where our marriage seemed very strong. I got into shape. Our physical connection was back on track, etc. She turned away the AP, changed her contact, was doing all the right things. The problem is, and this is just my belief, is that people like our wives are fundamentally broken, and it's very hard to change that. Do I subscribe to once a cheater, always a cheater? I'm not sure, but I do believe that someone who cheats is very, very likely to do it again. What happened in my case? You guessed it. She started up an affair with someone else, this time a very weird, balding, super effing skinny, like never lifted up a weight in his entire life, dude, who is almost in every way the complete opposite of her first AP. Fell into a blame game of gaslighting me, denied the affair, until eventually I provided her with the hard evidence, and just told her I was done. And it's really not even about you, it's about them. I truly, truly believed my wife was never going to cheat again after the first affair, because it seemed like we were building something sustainable. But in every relationship, even the perfect partner can probably give you 80% of everything you want. For most people, that's not an issue. You can compromise on the other 20%, or you bring in that extra 20% so that you're fulfilled. For people who cheat, they are constantly chasing the other 20%. Even if it comes at the expense of giving up someone who can get them 80%. I would say the likelihood is yes, she's going to cheat again at some point, but I'm also coming into this having lived this exact experience. Only you can ultimately make the choice here, but it does not sound like she's 100% in this, and I think that's a gigantic red flag. But I also was at a point where I thought only 2 choices existed. 1, stay in a marriage that I was unhappy in and always be second fiddle for her. 2, get out of the marriage and be unhappy that I was alone. It took me a while to understand that there is another option, and that's to exit a marriage and find happiness again. I'm divorced. I have 50/50 custody with my kids. But I found happiness again in a relationship that's much, much healthier than my marriage ever was. And if I could go back 6 years ago, I would have ended it then. Original poster, you're right. And I hope that this option 3 exists. I just know it's less likely than the others. We have talked openly about all of this, and it seems like there are 2 options if we were to succeed. Either we find a formula for her getting that extra 20% from me, or she learned to be content with the 80%. She wants to get it from me. I know she loves me and wishes she had that passion for me. If not, she wants to be content with the 80%. She can work toward those things, but ultimately, we know those aren't choices she can force upon herself. The conscious mind can do a lot, but it's hard to change feelings at that level. People might say it sounds like she's not totally committed. I would tweak that to say that she's being honest about how she's feeling and what the potential sticking points are. I don't want to penalize her for that honesty because it's a requirement. You can't overcome something if you can't recognize and be honest about it. But my instinct is also that unless something really changes, nothing would really stop us from being down this same path in 5 minutes, 10 years, if we last that long. Reader comment, if they're both stay-at-home types and neighbors, how do you know they've really gone no contact? Did you let his wife know about the affair? Original poster, I know they've gone no contact because I also stay at home and have been with her basically constantly. He is terrified about his wife finding out and ending the gravy train and told me he would have no further contact with her. I have wrestled hard with whether to tell his wife. End of the day, I don't care about doing it for her. My motivation would be vengeance. I don't think that's a virtuous reason to do something. But I am by nature a vengeful person, so I do find it appealing. I wrote a letter to her, but it's in my outbox. I can send it anytime. Story 2, my stupid story and update. I posted my story to the reconciliation sub as a Hail Mary. And the overwhelming advice I got was to leave, which was pretty much the way I was leaning anyway. Now I'm a survivor of infidelity. We already separated after her most recent affair, so the actual breakup was pretty easy. I wrote her a long letter which I hand-delivered to her, and she broke down and begged for me not to leave. It was hard, but after so many betrayals I just can't see any light at the end of that tunnel. So I turned around and left. Blocked her on everything the same day. I feel incredibly numb. She was my first real relationship, my first and only love so far in life. For the past 6 months I knew this was coming, but now that it's done, I don't know how to feel. I just feel nothing. I don't even know what this post is for. Just babbling into the void. I have been with my GF for a little over a decade. She is a serial cheater. She cheated multiple times 2 years after we started dating. Had a month-long affair 4 years after that. And another months-long affair 4 years after that. She never seemed genuinely remorseful. Each time she had opportunities to come clean, but forced me into a position where I had to snoop into her phone to find the truth. She displayed all the characteristic cheater behaviors, including lying, gaslighting, and DARVO. She would probably disagree, but in my opinion, we rug-swept each affair and she never really put in a full effort to change or help me heal. We've done couples counseling off and on, and she has been in IC consistently for the past 3 years. The last affair she blamed me because I hadn't proposed to her yet. She's gave me an ultimatum that if I didn't propose in the next year she will leave. Despite her efforts in therapy, I don't believe her thinking has changed significantly. She hasn't really helped me heal and instead put way too much emphasis on the proposal question. She's so focused on marriage that she doesn't seem to care much about my healing process. We don't have any kids or shared assets. I'm leaning towards leaving her at this point. Given her horrendous track record, I feel that it's only a matter of time before she cheats again. Reader comment, why would she cheat if she wants you to propose? Sounds dumb of her. Sounds like a dumb excuse also. I'm not sure if you mentioned it. But why do you want to wife her? Are there kids? Or something very compromising? Original poster, honestly there really isn't any compelling reason for me to stay. No kids. She was my first and only love. The reason I haven't left before is due to my own personal problems. I have Asperger's and find it very difficult to connect with people. Also have low self-esteem. I gave into the sink cost fallacy. Other than the multiple affairs, our relationship has been solid law. I know that sounds like building a house on top of quicksand. Reader comment, no kids or shared assets. I would say count your losses and move on. No one deserves to be treated with the level of disrespect being shown to you by her cheating multiple times. Cheating once is bad enough, but multiple instances clearly indicate she is not willing to work on herself to be able to stop her behavior. Original poster, sadly, she's been seeing a therapist every couple weeks for the past 3 years, and yet still she fell back into her old habits. Early on I thought she was making progress. She had a horrible childhood and went into foster care, so there is a lot of past traumas. She had never really dealt with that trauma seriously until she started therapy 3 years ago. I had a lot of hope, but clearly she still has a lot of work to do in therapy. Reader comment. Greater than we don't have any kids or shared assets. Every chum's sad, but realistic dream. As much as the pain will be there for a while, you're free to heal without the mess that comes with so many other stories on here. Take that positive and embrace it. I think your future self will thank you. Good luck. Original poster. Yeah, the one good thing I've done in life is not tie myself to her with marriage or kids. I should have left 8 years ago. I'm never getting those years back. But at least I'm materially free from her, although mentally I'm a total wreck tbh. Reader comment. Multiple affairs as recent as 6 months, and yet she felt entitled to a proposal. That's some brass ones. Original poster. Yeah, I could never wrap my mind around that one. She even tried to give me hall passes to be redeemed whenever I wanted in the future, so long as I proposed to her. It's not like I'm sitting on a pile of gold. I'm an average guy. No idea why she wanted to lock me down so badly when she couldn't even stay faithful for more than 4 years at a time. Story 3. I asked for details, but it's some very specific details that I can't seem to get over. A lot of stuff had happened. It's been years since day. Mine was trickle-truthed for a while, then continued to betray me, but in less severe ways, I guess. In her eyes, she has begged for chances, and I've obliged. I've all but checked out at this point. I'm hurt. She's hurt. But she did this, all of this. Now, I don't really feel like recapping everything, especially after some of the negative responses I've gotten in the past for me trying to stay, but lately I feel like I see her trying, I see effort. It's on the right track, but there are certain things that I got her to tell me that stick with me. There are certain, very specific things that roll around in my head all the time, and there was a ton of SHT she did wrong, like a baffling amount. But even after all of that, I was willing to give her a chance to prove herself, or so I thought. I can't seem to get a few things out of my head, and it has made me reluctant to accept any progress as real progress. I keep feeling like, well, even after D-Day, she was able to look me in the eye, already knowing the pain she's caused, already seeing me spiral downward and my life fall apart. She was able to beat with me through a roller coaster of emotion and crazy SHT, but in the midst of my breaking down, she was able to look me in the eye and still lie about some serious SHT, still do some less serious SHT. It makes me continuously wonder if anything she says or does is real or just a cover-up. Some wicked SHT. I wanted to talk to her tonight about the dreams I've been having, why I wake up and rush off to work right away, why I'm grumpy all the time, why I am so distant, but I sit here trying to talk to her. And yes, she is like 3 feet away from me as I type this, and I don't know if it matters. I don't know what to say. I don't know if my words are wasted, and I really just kinda want a hug from someone who I know loves me. I just want to cry and pour my soul out to someone who won't use it as a weapon. I just want to sit with someone who isn't expecting the world from me. I don't know if this is strength or weakness, my still being here. I just want the love back. I just want the trust I thought we had. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. So instead, I type to you all random internet strangers. Thank you for listening. Please be kind. I'm in a terrible place in my mind right now. Reader comment. Opus, I am sorry that you are going through this. Trust me, you're not alone. Things that you were told of what she had allowed her AP to do to her were probably things that you have never been able to do with her. It's like you keep asking yourself why. Why is a husband who is fully in love with his wife allow someone else to do something like that but not me? Then there are all of the times that she should have been with you but spend them with the AP. They lie, cheat, gaslight, lie some more to the person who they made vows with. Unfortunately, you are still being lied to. Maybe it's not a bad thing. She's seen what she said to you and how bad you took it, so she is keeping other things from you. Your relationship that you used to have before she cheated will never be the same again. There is nothing that she or you can do to get that back. There is only 2 options that she created for you. 1, you continue to live with her, resenting her, knowing she can lie, gaslight, manipulate you, and it might still happen again. You will be wondering why she is late from work. Why does she need to go out with the girls? Why is she taking so long at the store? Every time she does something, you will question it in your head. You will have a different relationship that is weak, that is unstable. Even if she does nothing wrong, you will always remember, you will dream about it. You will resent her for what she did. This will be your life until the end. 2, you can divorce, you can learn to heal. You can go to therapy, you can start to better yourself for you. You will still resent her, still remember, still dream about her, but over time these will fade only if you get help by working on you. It does get better with time and self-healing. You won't have to look into the face of the person that betrayed you daily. I wish you the best of luck, and remember, this is your choice. She made her choice, and she should have left the relationship before doing what she did. Reader comment, you are not obligated to forgive her just because she's remorseful. True remorse is about understanding the damage they've done. It is not a solution. She owes you trying. She owes you trying to make it work. You don't owe her anything. Thank her for her efforts, and then express regret that it's just not enough, and tell her to move out. You don't feel loved right now, so at least feel self-respect. You are too valuable